Hello, and welcome to another conversation on divorce discussions. And we are going to talk today with Robyn McTague. She is the creator of A Life of Choice Coaching and Consulting. She helps individuals, couples, and teams navigate the complexities of their personal and professional relationships through a unique blend of proven strategies, including science, metaphysical systems, and empowering clients to engage fully in their life. She helps them uncover the drivers behind their behavior, address conflicts head on, and cultivate thriving relationships within themselves and others. Robyn, I love that message. That is so fantastic.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure, and a fellow Canadian, so yay, it was your Canada here.
That's
Um,
correct.
Robyn, what got you started in this area? Because it's really quite a specialized area. So how did you get into this, or what made this your passion?
Yeah, well, I grew up with really bad relationships. It was a very traumatic upbringing. My dad was an alcoholic and rageaholic, and my mom was suicidal. And first time I remember her attempting suicide, I was 4. And
Wow.
so I really withdrew. And then her and I left my dad and brother, and we lived with other families. So I always felt like an outsider. I felt like I couldn't be myself. I had to kind of be that chameleon and fit into a new school and a new community and a family. So I never felt I could be myself. And so that was a real challenge. And I couldn't speak up for what I needed. And a lot of times I didn't know what I needed.
Oh, yeah.
So
What a difficult childhood, though. That's a lot to overcome, isn't it?
it was. And then what happened, because I didn't get that nurturing and care that I needed, I ended up with breast cancer 24 years ago. And that was a real turning point for me where, I really had to look at my life, how I'd gotten to that point. And I literally spent 6 months on my sofa just allowing those feelings to come up and letting myself cry and all of it, right? That wide range that had been stuck within me because I didn't feel safe enough to express any of it.
This, I think that might be a common theme. And it's so interesting because, there's so many different people I've spoke to, but lately I keep hearing the same message from all the experts that I've talked to. If you don't feel, you don't heal. Like that really seems to be something that's a message we need to really focus on.
We do. And the problem is, I hear a lot about empaths, but we're all to a degree. We pick up, it's part of who we are. And so we don't know what's ours and what's someone else's, and
Sure.
especially in relationships. And that's what kind of helped me a lot was, I was going back to work, and I didn't know how I could be around all these stressed out people again because I'd spent this quiet time. Like I didn't always listen to music or TV. I was just quiet with myself. And so I'd gone to a really deep place. And it's like, how can I be around these people? Because we worked with people who were injured on the job. So there was a lot of emotional components and all of this. And I met someone at a wine, cheese, and tarot card reading party. And she said, oh, I took this class where you get energy shields. And so you're not taking on other people's energy. So I was in the next week. It was an amazing class. And I teach it to adults and children now. And out of that energetic system, I also teach the anxiety and depression workshop. So that was kind of the beginning of really connecting with myself and that higher part of myself to allow me to feel that safety of what's my feelings, what someone else's, create the boundaries that we don't learn in our families or society. And then from there, more confidence. And then I, had enough years of service, I could take early retirement, and then went into the motivational map process and the Enneagram and these other systems that really support the psychology and the conflict resolution training I'd done before. But it was all in my head originally until I got into my feelings. That was the missing component to really be able to know, because our feelings are our alignment strategy,
Right.
because they tell us whether or not we're going towards what we want. And
Yeah.
it's the same with our motivation and energy, our personality, all of it.
And I think that's so relevant because I am a trained mediator. I mean, I do a lot of family and divorce mediation. That's really high emotion, high stakes kind of mediations. And one of the things I do as a divorce coach is help people prepare for that. And you can divide up the facts of a relationship, but it's that emotional component. Like, how does that make you feel when you're in that situation? So, what do most people come to you with? Like, what do they think? I need to talk to Robyn about that. Like, what is it that brings them to you?
A lot of times it's that, like, what's missing in my life? Like, why can't I seem to know what I want or know what that next step is? And I just feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm not getting any traction. Maybe I don't know how to, with entrepreneurs, sometimes it's like, the shiny object syndrome. I can't focus. I don't know what to do. And, I'm listening to everyone else. They're not listening to themselves.
Right, right.
And, or, couples, it's like, yeah, we feel this disconnect, but we don't know why. And with teams, it's like our team isn't functioning and there's tension. So how do we deal with this? We don't know how to do anything differently because we're so focused on the bottom line. We don't realize actually if we work with the people part and understand each other more in the communication, that's going to solve a lot of the problems, right? So often we think it's a personality conflict, which it can be, but it can be in a motivational conflict too, because I want something and you want something different.
Right.
So there's some tension in their relationships, I would say, is the umbrella. Like they're just not feeling like they're connecting with people or themselves. It's really the bottom line.
And so they recognize that, and then they come and they work with you. Is your goal, and I'm asking this because a lot of the people here that are listening to this are probably maybe even in the contemplative state of divorce. Is there a time where, you stop trying to, I'm not going to put this delicately, I'm just going to ask it. Is there a time when you stop worrying about making the relationship work and start focusing on, I need to do this because, like you say, I need to protect myself, and the life force is being sucked out of me trying to maintain this relationship, like whether it's personal or whether it's a business one. How does that decision get made, or what needs to happen for that decision to be made?
Yeah, absolutely, right? Because some of us are so, especially as women, we want to be that nice person. We don't want to rock the boat half the time. We want to nurture others, but we forget about what it takes to nurture us and our soul and our body and our mind. And so taking that time and being honest, it's like, things are not feeling like it's working. We need a time out. I need time to focus on me.
Right.
And whether we can still stay in the same, if it's not too acrimonious, if you can stay in the same space and just say, we need some time to work on ourselves before we can come together again. And, I think it's such a disservice if you're feeling that you have to do it all together, because it's only when I know who I am and what's important to me that I can be strong in the relationship. Most people are taught the other way, that we're pleasing the other person and helping them. But it's only when we're in our strength of who we are that we can come together in the strength and really know that, yes, we have similarities, but we have differences. One of the things for me in relationship, I shut down live theater. I didn't do that as much, and I really missed it. And that's my passion, to go and enjoy the beauty of the performance and the feeling that you get. And it just brings me alive. So if we don't have any passion, how are we going to have passion for another person?
Yeah.
So we have to start with the self.
Right.
And we call this our instinctual center. So it's like having that passion. We have to have the feeling in our body, being comfortable in our body, right? One of the things happened for me in the marriage was eating disorder. So I wasn't eating. The thinner I was, the better I was accepted. but it wasn't the healthiest for me. But it was a way of controlling. And so we're doing these things to try to take back control. But the control is knowing, it's not about me, it's about them. So not taking it personally, so I can say, yeah, this is what I need. And you need to figure out what you need. And then can we come together?
Yeah. And so do you actually guide people, guide women through that specific process of how to do that, how to accomplish that?
Yeah, we do that in a bunch of different ways. But yeah, that first piece is knowing that when I can step back and take that, bring that awareness in, become the self-observer. So it's, almost like watching myself in the situation and treating it like this is giving me information. That's what relationships are for, is to learn about ourselves. So it's like giving me feedback of how am I relating to that? Are they angry? Where is the anger in me that I maybe haven't been able to express?
Right.
What's a healthy way that I can do that? Our society is so bad with grief and anger. Like those have been so taboo, and we haven't learned how to deal with it. And
Yeah.
it was a big one for me.
Can you talk a little bit more about that grief and anger piece? Because a lot of people come to me, obviously going through a divorce. It's a time of loss, it's a time of grief, but it's also a time of some really intense anger as well. And a lot of women feel like they're bad if they, like there's something wrong with them if they're having these emotions. Can you talk a little bit about that? Am I putting you on the spot, Robyn, or is that okay?
Not at all. No,
Okay.
that's fine. Yeah, anything you want to ask.
Okay. Well, let's
Yeah.
let's let's explore that because that's something that I think that's such a huge stumbling block because you just keep driving that down and driving it down and then you go into your next relationship and you wonder why that blows up. Like second and third marriages have a much higher divorce rate than first marriages. So can you talk about that whole
Yeah.
cycle, I guess is a good
Yeah,
word.
and that was for me, right? Because my dad was a rageaholic, so I didn't want to go there, keep the peace at all costs. And then what I found when I was starting to work on that healing part of myself, I was attracting people. I met this person I was dating, and they got really angry at me, and I'm like, what? And so, we didn't go out after, I think we only had 2 dates anyway. And it's like, wow, that's really intense.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I haven't expressed that in myself. And the thing is that we think that if we're going to go there, we're going to overdo it. Like that was my fear, that we're going to hurt someone else. So learning that we can do it in a different way, and actually feelings come through. Like if we actually allow it to come up and move through, it's like a wave. Like if you think about grief, right? There's certain times of the year, even maybe many years later, when there's someone that you love that you've lost. So this is our feelings, but we get this idea in our head that I'm going to go in there, I'm never going to get out the other side. And that was one of my concerns. But it's just this 90 seconds is often the feeling of moving through. So if it's like, wow, learning to recognize it, learning the resentment, the different forms of anger. Resentment is a big one, especially in relationships. So different ways that anger expresses, and then learning able to name that. What am I feeling? Where is it in my body? So I really want to get people in touch with their body. And that's why we do centering and meditation, so that we are aware of what's going on. So then I have that place, we all have our gut instinct. Can I start to listen to it again? Anger is a way for us to know that a boundary is being crossed. It gives us information. We wouldn't have change in society without anger, right? The bread lines, people weren't being fed. This is when we use it in the correct way, we use it for good, but we've been taught it's all bad. So seeing it as everything, that range, like the rainbow, right? There's solid colors, but there's the color moves out. There's all these different shades.
That is a really good explanation. And I like that thought of just stay with the emotion and it's going to last about 90 seconds and then it's going to move through. Because I think you're right. I think there's that fear of, am I going to be like this, the crazy person that like loses their mind in the bank line and everybody is looking at them like, what is going on here? You don't have to go to that level, right? You can just experience it and let it go.
Yeah, and there's ways that we can. I have one friend, she bought cheap dishes at a store and smashed them. That was her way of getting that really deep rage out for her. The Nerf bat, there's many ways to do that. And so as we go into the deeper layers, we find that there's no one kind of set emotion. Anger and sadness go together, right? And women, we see this, right? We're angry, but we cry.
Yeah.
And so not making ourselves wrong for how it shows up and when it shows up.
Yeah. And there is so much guilt in our society, for 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 having to have emotions. Like you're supposed to it's almost like you're not supposed to show anything other than super happy, super joyous, excited to be here every day. If you're anything off of that level, there's something wrong with you if you're doing that.
Yeah, and I call that spiritual bypass, right? These people, oh, just do this one thing and it's going to be great. You're never going to feel this again. I'm sorry. I'm not that school of thought. It takes time and effort, and there's layers of the onion. And so there's that way of, do we want to be authentic or not?
Right. Right.
And I think that, thankfully, I think it's shifting. Like we see that in marketing and stuff. People are tired of this promises and you have to do it now and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, how do I really connect? Am I connected with that person? Am I connected with what I need? And I can choose, right?
Yeah.
Got to get that choice.
Yeah. Val, there's so much value in what you're saying. Like I hope people, I know it's hard. We're on here for 20 minutes. It's not really enough time to explore really in depth anything, but the value of understanding there's an option here that you don't have to be one end of the spectrum or the other end of the spectrum. You can process this, progress through this on your own terms and at your own speed. Robyn, what is the one thing out of all the information you've shared, and it's been great, thank you so much. What's one thing that you think is the golden nugget of wisdom you want people to remember from this talk?
The one that I learned that's been my mantra through my conflict resolution training was all behavior makes sense, at least to that person. So let's bring in our curiosity and see if we can find out what's going on with them, and also use that for ourselves. Not just in the relationship, but that there's two relationships, right? There's the relationship with self and there's the relationship with other.
Yeah.
And put yourself first, oxygen mask on first.
Yeah, great. And Robyn, if people want to find out more about what you do or get in touch with you or reach out to you, what's the best way for them to make that contact?
alifeofchoice.ca. I'm in Canada, so .ca, emphasize that. And I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, and yeah, just reach out.
And I will make sure all of that information gets put in the YouTube notes that's going to go below this. And yes, please do reach out to Robyn. Follow her, get in touch with her if you feel like this is something that's resonating with you right now. So, Robyn, thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your wisdom.
Thank you.